I'm Carol Vasquez from Grenada. I am the founder and the president of the Grenada Association of Retired Persons.
Hi, and I'm Taylor Makai from St. Kitts, representing St. Kitts Nevis Alliance. I'm actually the president as well, and I deal with the LGBT.
Hi, my name is Lionel. I'm the president of the New Life Deaf Club, and I'm from Barbados. Hi, my name is Kimberly, and I'm also from the New Life Deaf Club. I'm a floor member from Barbados.
Some of the economic things that are really challenging in Grenada, especially for seniors, is transportation. Um, our seniors, some of them have retired into poverty, and some of them can't afford some of the bus fares. And the buses we have in Grenada is actually not equipped to to really facilitate the travel of people with disability and seniors. As you get older, you tend to have painful knees and pain all over, and it's very difficult getting into buses. And we find that Grenada is not really doing a lot to help in that. And so it is a challenge for seniors to go to town, to mix with people in town, go visit their relatives. So as a result, we're getting people who are staying at home early in their lives after retirement.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the LGBT community, some of the challenges we face is basically unjust in the lack treatment in high school and inadequate access to healthcare services. Other than that, yeah, and we had challenges in like getting jobs.
Okay, it's the same for Barbados. We have some issues and challenges as far as the deaf community is concerned, as accessibility and services. They don't have interpreters, and so there are a lot of conflict when it comes to deaf people accessing certain things. So we have some issues, and most deaf people aren't working because that's a problem when it comes to our educational system. When we're done with school, we don't really have anything to show for it, and then that's it. We're out there alone.
What I would really like to see is that government actually put on some bus services available for seniors and people with disability in Grenada. Because as it stands, there is no bus service whatsoever in Grenada that facilitates that. Yeah.
Well, in my area, I would basically like to see the produce of more health workers. Uh, I would like to see probably more conversation around the law enforcement officials to learn how to deal with the LGBT community going forward.
Um, okay, I agree with both of you. All of us have pretty much the same challenges. The same for the deaf community here. The older deaf community. Sometimes it's a challenge for them to get maybe like benefits after a certain age. An illegal system in Barbados. There's a word, that word, deaf and mute, that they still use. That's an old-fashioned term that they use to describe us. Um, but we are proud people, and deaf is a symbol of pride. So we have our issues too when it comes to certain labels. My challenge: people still use that word dumb. That word dumb. I can see it on their lips. That's a challenge for me because that word needs to be taken off. And I just thought about something else recently. When I arrived here in St. Lucia, I was taking pictures at the airport, and then this person came up to me and said, "You know what?" Um, they were trying to talk to me, and I was trying to read their lips. And what they were saying is that it was illegal to take pictures, and the woman was looking at me like, what, just get rid of the picture. And only when an interpreter came was I able to understand what it really was that she was trying to tell me. And what I think needs to happen is that there needs to be more training for people to understand and be able to understand deaf people. Uh, you know, So if it wasn't an interpreter or if I wasn't able to understand what would have happened in my country, I know that we take pictures wherever. We get off a plane, we get on a plane, we start taking pictures. Nobody before has ever stopped me, but I found it really strange what happened when I arrived here. So more people need to be trained in that area. And okay, for example, in Grenada, you know, you speak a certain way and you interact a certain way, but we need to know how we could able to communicate so everyone understands each other.
I totally agree to what you're saying. There's so much education to be given to people today. Um, for people with different disabilities, and I think people are walking around very ignorant on how to deal with people with these disabilities. And I think more emphasis should be put on television, on radio, that there's a constant education available for people. You mentioned that people still say the word deaf or dumb, and no way have I ever seen, and I am a senior, where this is something on television that says, look, this is not a phrase that should be used, and the reason why it should not. So I'm saying that you're right. More education, more awareness should be focused for youth and for the public at large.
And also, that word impaired. That's another word that we've gotten rid of because that conflicts. People think it's politically correct to say not hearing impaired, but look at me, I'm normal. There's nothing impaired about me. Uh, so when people use that word impaired, we don't need fixing. We are deaf, and that's a powerful word for us, a symbol of pride. We don't want anything other than who we are. I am a deaf person, and I want to be respected as that. And sometimes people feel the need to say hearing impaired. And for our culture, that's not our culture. You know, Even in my culture at home, do you remember recently we had a problem. One deaf person had an emergency and an interpreter wasn't there at that point in time. And they went to the polyclinic and they said the person was deaf. The person said, oh, okay, okay. But there was nothing that they were able to access. Can you imagine if an older person, you talk about retired persons, the LGBT community, if something were to happen and if something really impacts you and you're not being able to be accommodated, what are we supposed to do? What we need to do is to be able to train people, to really train people about what to say. If the problems arise within any one of our communities, how are we able to solve them? We are humans first, and we have different experiences, but we all have some commonalities. Okay, my experience. When I used to go to my school in Barbados and I finished school, I couldn't find a job. And so I stayed home because I didn't have a job. But what I really want to do is to encourage other deaf communities, even the ones that are involved in my club. And here is the president here for the New Life Deaf Club, and I'm a floor member. So right now I am out and involved in the community and seeing other people. People talk about the deaf people and talk about our culture, but I really don't care about that. Um, because really I'm a proud representation of what it means to be deaf. And it's the same. People, look at you, in um, I'm sure in different communities, no matter what community is, our community, LGBT community, people look and try to insult and say different things. You know, sometimes, it depends on the situation and how people make you feel when they're confronted. Also, I want to add to that, here people I find are really focused on the disability, and not about who we are and what we can do. All they focus on is our deafness. But it's interesting here you talk about retirees. I've never heard about, so I'm now learning about that and your issues and your struggles, and also about the LGBT community, and realize, how we can all get involved and play a part, and so that we could really inform each other and have respect for each other and respect for the communities, and how we can interact with each other and how things impact us differently and how we should progress in the future.
I just want to say, with regard to the elderly, just like with disability, the elderly are marginalized in many ways. Um, in many hospitals, when they are admitted, not as much attention is given to them because a lot of people got a mindset they're going to die anyway, they're old. So the treatment is always second class. We have something that is happening throughout the world that is called dementia, Alzheimer, that is hitting at a very early age. And we're not educated on how to deal with it, even from the home or publicly. Okay? And so aging is a very serious thing that is happening amongst us. And people are not taking note of this. And we're marginalized a lot, a lot, a lot. And if you look at television today, the interest or the focus is on sports and youth, but not on seniority or disability. So we have a lot of work to be done to have a voice with the public and with government.
Yeah, definitely, because this in the LGBT community, we do face many types of discrimination. Like, for example, myself, being a female and a footballer, I do face discrimination, and sometimes you find that you have your own football association will come on you and they will go in media and they will say that we are encouraging youths, young girls, to be a part of the community, and then you have different aspects where you find different guys are being stigmatized by on the street, and even sometimes to make it more difficult that sometimes you have discrimination between your own kind. So between your own community, we still face our own discrimination. So it's something that we as a community need to work on before we actually try and bigger aspect of it.
I think we've come a long way, actually, all of us. If you look at 10 years ago, we have come a long way, but there's still more work to be done and more sensitization in all areas, all areas. You agree?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree 100%. Right on.
And I think it has to start in the schools. Um, Children do not understand disability. They don't understand aging. We have something that is happening. Grandparents are very young today. So long ago, your grandparents could have passed on things to you. Grandparents and mothers are almost the same age. And we're no longer talking as we used to talk. The older folks now are asked to keep quiet. The younger folks are more involved with getting any information that they want from the telephone, from Google, or whatever. But it's never the experience of the grandparent. And those of us who have been lucky to have a grandparent and to have that passed down, the family history, the family traits, they're lucky. because in the next few years we will not have that.
Technology taking over.
Technology taking it. Technology, Google is your grandmother. You understand? Google has become a grandmother. If you want to find out something, you go on Google. Whereas long ago you sat in circle with your parents and you spoke. We're no longer having the conversation around the table where we can discuss issues affecting the family that no longer exist. Children take their plates and go to their rooms, and I've known of instances where children actually send a text to their mother from their room asking if dinner is ready.
Yeah, that's true.
You do that, right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So you see,
Yes. My mother always tell my brother, he's 16 years old. And it's always so hard for him to go, and just tell her what you want, instead of passing this long message or texting or whatever, just go straight and give the information, you know. In all fairness and communication, just go and say what you have to say. Just do it. But everything has changed. Before, people say it old fashioned, but it was kind of perfect. You know, a lot of things happened, but now times have changed.
Yeah, that's true.
and let me tell you how important that is. Because you knew each expression on your mother's face of what it meant. Because there was expression of joy, there was expression of you are going to get a good licking today. There was an expression that I am pleased with you. Yes. But because there is this technology thing, we have lost the sensation of interacting closely with our parents.
Yeah, that's true.
I remember my grandmother, she recently passed away in the hospital. She had a broken hip. I remember my family brought her home. She was still managing to communicate with us, even if in her old age, and she would call me Red Boy. I'm like, who's that? I've never heard that word before. Red Boy? Who's Red Boy? And then it was like, oh, she means me. But I never knew what she called me before that time. I guess we were getting closer at that stage. Um, but I'm proud of my grandmother and the tradition. She had 8 children, and all are still alive.
Good for you. Well, I mean, for me, my lifestyle, I recent technology take over my lifestyle. Sometimes I have me mom will be like, when you flight land, because she haven't seen me in days, and we basically live in the same house. So yeah, I will communicate to her through WhatsApp, basically. And just leave my room and walk the road. I will just send a nice text.
I would ask you to change that. As an elderly, I would ask you to change that. Because that interaction is so precious. And once your mom is taken away from you, you're going to look back in your older days and regret you had not made that connection. Right? Because what we lose, we can never gain. And she wants to have that connection with you. But you can see a division and you see this is more worthy of communicating. But this is the best way in the world.
Yeah.
And it's the same for the deaf community. We live in our society in Barbados. We are in a group pretty much by ourselves, and then we have our family. We have deaf people over here. We have our hearing families over there, And, sometimes they don't sign and there's no communication. But, we need more involvement and more support with each other. So I agree, in the future, if anything happens to you, and, you want to make sure that communication is a major part, and you want to use communication to solve whatever issues you have. And we need to increase communication. We need to be more active, take more action, not just wait until something happens, but to be encouraged now and be motivated now so that we can be successful and have a sense of accomplishment.
Well, I think this was a lovely conversation. I can only say we're going to go away with some wonderful, wonderful feelings. I know Tiny's going to make a change with us influencing you to do that. And this was just beautiful for me, a wonderful experience.